This is our next lesson again on demand and supply. I'm going to be focusing on a few different things today, but I do want to go over the relationship between demand and supply first. So we said that price is the amount that you pay for a product or service. But the most important thing we said, and what I want to highlight here again, is when price is reduced, demand will increase. So if the price of something drops down, what happens? More people want to buy it. And if the price of something goes up, less people want to buy it. So demand is the amount of people that are willing to purchase something. Again, I'll use an example that if there's something that's worth 80 euro, if there's a piece of clothing that's worth 80 euro, if the price goes down to 30 euro, loads of people will be interested in buying it because there's 50 euro off. But if the price, which was 80 euro, if the price goes from 80 euro up to 120 euro, now less people are interested in buying it. And we can show that here in a schedule and then eventually in a graph. We call that a curve. So while we're looking here for the schedule, we're looking at, okay, so this is, I talked about a jacket the last day, or any form of clothing or technology or anything like that, that if something is worth 50 euro, maybe 200 people might be interested in buying it. But as the price goes up to 100 euro, no less people want to buy it. There's only 160 people want to buy it if it's cost 100 euro. If it goes up again, there's less people. And finally, when the price goes all the way up to 200 euro, you now have only 80 people interested in buying that product. So the demand has dropped down 60%. Price has gone up 4 times the amount, up to 200 euro, and now there's only 80 people interested in buying it. So this is just a graph to show us, or a little kind of chart to show us, that as the price goes up, less people are interested in buying the product. But if the price was to go down, if the price is to be reduced, you get more people interested in buying the product. When we show this here, we show it on the demand curve. And again, this is our x-axis here, our y-axis, sorry, our y-axis here. And we can see that as the price goes up, as the price is going up towards 200 euro, so the price is going up here, basically the dots in the chart are going up, the numbers here start going a little bit more closer to that y-axis. So if we see here along the x-axis, we can see that if 80 people want the product, the price must be high. But if 200 people want the product, the price is low at 50 euro. So the lower the price, the more interested people are in buying the product. And what we do here is you'll have something like this where it's a demand schedule, just like you would in maths, and you plot these along the axis. So you have to draw your axis here for price, and you'd have to draw your x-axis for demand. And we'll show it here that if the price is 50, so I'll go up to the y-axis and find 50. I'll go across to the x-axis and I'll find 200. So y-axis I'll go up here to 50. Next axis I'll go across to 200, and that's my first point. And then I do the same thing here. If the price is 100, so I go up to 100 on the y-axis and the price, I go across to the x-axis 160. So I go up here 100 euro for price, I go across here to 160, and that's my point. That's my point here for drawing in the curve. And again, 150 on the price, it said it was about 120 euro, 120 demand. So I'll have my 4 points, and I get that from my demand schedule here, and then we'll be able to draw the curve. I will be going through a good few questions for homework based on drawing out this style of question, and how we'd find our curve. So demand curve is a graph that illustrates the expected demand for a product at different price levels. Again, very important, when the price is low, demand is high, and when the price is high, demand is low. So other factors affecting demand: price of substitute products and price of complementary goods. I'm going to go through these 3 slides in time to come because I want to pay more attention to how to draw the curve before we look at how the curve can move. So I'm not going to look at them today. For today, I'm just going to do a little bit more work on theory, and I'm going to start here with getting you to draw out the curve and getting used to drawing the curve before we look at these three slides, because this is how the slide, or how that line will move. So we won't need to look at that for today. So I'm starting today here with our new the new part of what we're doing, and some theory. So fads and fashions. So as consumer taste changes, demand for products will also change. Fashionable goods or brands will see a sharp increase in demand, while those that are unfashionable will receive a reduced level of demand. So what are we talking about? Basically, as people get more interested in buying something, what happens to demand? It goes up. So if something becomes fashionable, if people are interested in buying it, the demand will go up. I often think back to 10 years ago, before any skinny jeans, skinny tracksuit pantses, before any of those things were popular. 10 years ago, people used to wear baggy tracksuit pantses. Canterbury were one of the more popular brands for tracksuit pantses, and they were baggy. Nowadays, a lot of people are wearing those tracksuit pantses they're kind of tighter around the lower part of your leg. They're tighter around the calf, but 10 years ago that wasn't fashionable. That wasn't a thing. It hadn't become popular yet. So back then, baggy tracksuit pantses were much more popular, and obviously the demand for baggy tracksuit pantses would have been high. Suddenly it became much more fashionable to wear tighter fitting, like skinny jeans or skinny tracksuit pantses or anything like that. It started to become a bit more fashionable. So what happened to skinny jeans or chinos or tighter tracksuit pantses? Their demand went up. So their demand went up, and the baggy style of pantses became a little bit more unfashionable, and their demand went down. So fads and fashion can change the interest levels in a product. The picture there is showing CDs. I'm sure if I was able to ask in class, how many people were buying CDs to listen to their favorite music, or how many people were using YouTube or Spotify to listen to their favorite music. I'm sure most of you might be on YouTube and Spotify. Obviously, that's become much more of a new novelty over the last 10 years less. So it used to be much more popular to buy CDs, but now the demand for CDs has gone way down, and now the demand is with streaming online. Advertising. So what else can affect demand? So these are things that can affect demand. And that's actually, I'll just get you to write in this here at the top, just before I get you to take down other notes. So you can pause the video while you write it in. Other factors affecting demand. And we'll be looking at this stuff soon, but that's just the title at the top. And the first one we looked at was fads in fashion. Now we're looking at advertising. So products that are heavily advertised may see an increase in demand, especially in the short to medium term. So if you find that there's a large company, there's an image here of Xbox, so Microsoft are advertising for their products, but any business that's heavily advertising anything, generally the demand will go up because people see it all the time. Because people see it, it's something that you see, and it's something that's all around you, and obviously it starts to, it kind of sits in your brain a small bit, and then when you spot it, you go, oh, I might be interested in buying that. Advertising obviously affects demand. The more advertising, the more money you spend on advertising, generally the demand goes up. Change in population or market size. So an increase in the birth rate will lead to increased demand for baby products. That should be quite obvious in that, because there's more people there, because there's more babies there, there's more demand for those items. Seasonal factors. So demand for some products change depending on the time of year. Obvious examples include chocolate products at Easter would become much more popular. Obviously then the month before that would be Lent, and generally the demand for these kind of products would drop at the beginning stages of Lent. You'll find that the whole time, as Halloween comes along, there'll be certain things that become much more popular. You'll start to see those things coming into shops. As Christmas comes along, you'll see the same thing. So these are seasonal factors, and the demand for some products can change depending on the time of year. So obviously Easter eggs are mostly sold through the the period leading up to the Easter holidays. and you don't find that they're anywhere near as popular in the middle of the summer or something like that. Price expectations of buyers. So if buyers expect prices to increase in the future, they may increase current demand to try to beat the price rises. If you thought that the price of, in this case, a house, if you thought the prices of the houses were going to increase in the next 5 years, it would be in your best interest to buy a house now rather than wait 5 years and pay more. So obviously this is coming to do with the buyer's expectations and how much they think they'll have to pay in the future, and it's kind of more of a strategy. Income levels. So how would income levels affect demand? Well, most goods are normal goods because if a person's income increases, they will be able to buy more expensive goods and services. For example, they might choose to buy a more expensive car. So if your income levels increase, your demand for more expensive products will increase. If I gave everybody in the class, 20,000 euro, probably most people are going to start to buy a few more expensive products. People might buy a better phone, a new phone. They might buy, Beats headphones. They might buy kind of high-end fashionable goods. If people were older, you'll see them buying sports cars if they get a lot of money together. Generally people win the lotto, the first thing they do is buy an expensive car. So obviously as your income goes up, you start to buy more expensive products. Just two more slides to look at. So these two here. So normal goods. A normal good is one that will increase, that will be in great demand when the buyer's income rises. So we can see here obviously that there is a butcher here with a lot of steak, and obviously it's 11 euro maybe for just one steak. It might be something like sirloin steak or fillet steak that's much more expensive compared to other forms of steak. So a normal good is one that will be in greater demand when the buyer's income rises. So you find obviously that people get more money, they'll generally buy kind of more high-end products. An inferior good is for one that would for which there will be less demand when the buyer's income rises. In this case, the inferior is not a comment about the quality of the product. You'll often find, quite simply, with things like if you go into the shop with cereal, Kellogg's cornflakes might cost, a box of Kellogg's cornflakes might cost €4.50. But if you go to Lidl or Aldi, you might see a brand of bran flakes, or something like that, and it might be like €1.50 cheaper or €2 cheaper. And you'll find obviously that if people have less money, they will buy an inferior product. So they will buy maybe a tin of beans with, they're not sure where it comes from. It's an own brand, maybe it's a Tesco brand of beans or something like that. And then you'll find as people get more money, they'll buy the Heinz beans. That's generally you'll see it with tea bags the whole time. Lions and Barry's tea are much more popular if you have the money to spend on them. But if you don't, generally you might buy a cheaper brand of tea bag. That's a normal good and inferior good. So just a few things we went through today, and it's just literally just a small bit of theory on affecting demand. So again, I want you to take down that title there. And after that, we only had a few slides. We had slides 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, and 25. I'll get you just to take those down. So slides 18 to 25. So those 7 slides, just to take those down. Into those 8 slides, just to take those down into your hardbacks for today.